The coffee shop conversation. The rain came down in sheets that Tuesday afternoon, drumming against the tall windows of Riverside Café. Inside, the warm glow of pendant lights cast gentle shadows across wooden tables worn smooth by countless conversations. The air smelled of fresh coffee and cinnamon, a comforting embrace against the gray world outside. Marcus Bennett sat alone at a corner table, his expensive suit slightly rumpled, his tie loosened at the collar. Steam rose from the untouched coffee cup before him, curling upward like silent questions. He stared at the dark liquid, watching his reflection ripple on its surface. Around him, the cafe hummed with life. Couples leaned close over shared desserts. Friends laughed at private jokes. But Marcus sat in his own bubble of silence, an island in the middle of it all. He had come here to escape. Not from the rain, but from the emptiness of his corner office 20 floors above the city. From the congratulatory emails about the merger he had just closed. From the voicemails he didn't want to return. At 42, Marcus had everything he had worked for. Success, wealth, respect. Yet sitting in this crowded cafe, he had never felt more alone. His phone buzzed on the table. Another message, another demand. He turned it face down and looked away. That's when he noticed her. A little girl, no more than 5 or 6 years old, stood a few feet away. She wore a pink dress with a small cardigan, and her blonde hair was pulled back with a ribbon that had come slightly loose. She held a chocolate chip cookie in one small hand, a few crumbs already dotting her chin. But it wasn't the cookie that caught Marcus's attention. It was her eyes, large and earnest. They studied him with a concern that seemed far too old for such a young face. "Are you okay, sir?" she asked, her voice soft but clear. Marcus blinked, surprised. He glanced around, wondering if she might be talking to someone else. But no, those solemn eyes were fixed on him. Yes, I'm fine," he said, managing a small smile. "Thank you for asking." The little girl tilted her head, unconvinced. She took a step closer to his table. "You look sad," she said simply. "My daddy looks like that sometimes. When he misses my grandpa." Something in Marcus's chest tightened. He opened his mouth to offer another polite dismissal, but the words wouldn't come. There was something disarming about her directness, her innocent honesty. "Maybe I am a little sad," he admitted, surprised by his own truthfulness. She nodded as if this made perfect sense. Without asking permission, she climbed onto the chair across from him, setting her cookie carefully on the table. Her legs swung back and forth, not quite reaching the floor. "I'm Emma," she announced. "Emma Rose Mitchell." "What's your name?" "Marcus," he replied. "Marcus Bennett." "That's a nice name," Emma said thoughtfully. She broke her cookie in half and pushed one piece across the table toward him. "Cookies help when you're sad. That's what my mommy says." Marcus looked at the offered cookie half, then at the little girl's open, trusting face. When was the last time someone had shared something with him, expecting nothing in return? When had someone last looked at him and seen not a CEO or a deal maker, but simply a person who needed kindness? "Thank you, Emma," he said quietly, accepting the cookie. He took a small bite. It was warm and sweet, and somehow it did help, just a little. "Why are you sad?" Emma asked, taking a bite of her own cookie half. Marcus considered the question. How could he explain to a child the weight of responsibility? The isolation that came with success. The realization that he had spent 20 years building a career and forgotten to build a life. "I think," he said slowly, "I've been working so hard that I forgot about other important things. Like friends, and family, and just being with people." Emma nodded sagely. "My daddy works a lot too. But he always comes to my tea parties. Even if he has to sit on the tiny chairs." She giggled at the memory. "Do you have tea parties?" Marcus couldn't help but smile. "No, I don't think I've ever been to a tea party." "That's sad," Emma said with genuine sympathy. "Tea parties are very nice. You can invite whoever you want. Even stuffed animals." "Emma," a woman's voice called from across the cafe. A young mother hurried over, apologetic concern on her face. "Sweetheart, you can't just wander off and bother people." "I'm so sorry, sir." "She's not bothering me," Marcus said quickly. "Not at all. We were just having a conversation." The mother looked relieved but still uncertain. "Emma has a habit of adopting people," she explained with a tired smile. "She thinks everyone needs a friend." "Maybe everyone does," Marcus said, surprising himself again. Emma beamed up at her mother. "I shared my cookie with Marcus. He was sad, but I think he feels a little better now." The mother's expression softened. She looked at Marcus more closely, seeing past the expensive suit to the loneliness underneath. Well, that was very kind of you, Emma. And it was nice of you to keep her company, Mr. Bennett. Marcus Bennett. He stood and extended his hand. And really, she helped me more than I helped her. As Emma and her mother returned to their table, Emma turned back and waved. Marcus waved in return, and for the first time in months, his smile reached his eyes. He sat back down and looked at his coffee, now cool but somehow more inviting. He picked up his phone, but instead of checking his messages, he opened his contacts. He scrolled past business associates and board members until he found it. His sister's number. They hadn't spoken in over a year, both too busy, both letting time slip away. His finger hovered over the call button. Then he thought of Emma's earnest face, her simple wisdom about tea parties and tiny chairs. About showing up for the people who mattered, even when it wasn't convenient. He pressed call. Marcus. His sister's voice was surprised, cautious. Is everything okay? Hi, Sarah, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Yeah, everything's okay. I was wondering if maybe I could come visit this weekend. Meet my nephew. I know it's been too long. There was a pause, and then warmth flooded her voice. Marcus, we'd love that. We've missed you. I've missed you too, he said, and realized it was true. When he ended the call, Marcus looked around the cafe with new eyes. The rain still fell outside, but inside was warm and full of life. Full of connection. He had spent so long at the top of his tower that he had forgotten how it felt to be among people, to be truly seen. As he finally took a sip of his coffee, now cold but somehow perfect, he glanced over at Emma. She was coloring at her table, but she looked up and gave him a small thumbs up. Marcus laughed, a real laugh, and returned the gesture. Sometimes wisdom came from the most unexpected places. Sometimes all it took was a little girl with a cookie and a simple question to remind you what really mattered. He gathered his things to leave, but he wasn't heading back to his empty office. He was going to start making different choices. Better ones. The rain was slowing as Marcus stepped toward the door. He turned back once more, catching Emma's eye. She waved goodbye, and he waved back. Thank you, he whispered, knowing she couldn't hear him but hoping somehow she understood. Outside, the clouds were beginning to break. And Marcus Bennett, CEO and newly reminded human being, walked out into the world with a lighter heart, ready to start building the life he had forgotten to live.